drink some hard cider and home brew. Next meeting. I'll put that on their action. Please take a look at the agendas. People show up. Anything that we should rearrange or change, add?
Oh, do we have the Joanna's count back?
Do we have what?
Juliana's count back. You know, I asked that what day we need.
Oh, the schedule. I don't know.
That's not, well, you've got the calendar budget process schedule on there. I don't know whether you still need to have the HR committee on there since they are no more. I think welfare needs to be on there.
Well, we can just put that in where HR was.
I had some information to add on that. It was kind of an eye-opener.
Anything else? Okay. The minutes for last week, October 14th. And the only thing I found was a correction of Barb Figure's spelling of her name.
Sorry. No, don't say sorry. You didn't get it either. I keep trying to make it French, and it's just not quite getting there.
But thank you for coming and keeping reminding us. Anything else to change on the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve these minutes for last week. Julie? Second?
Second.
Marianne? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? So the select board meeting, I think some of what happened we'll probably touch on in our committee reports, but we don't have our selectmen here.
We had people that were there.
But
There was several who were there.
a couple who left early.
Sludge public hearing is all that says.
Now they
Made room for the graph for the guy to present his information about addiction, cycle of drug use and how it develops addiction. And that was a big part of the meeting. And then there was some discussion of the police department budget. So why don't we cover the PD budget when we get to the EMSG, et cetera. The other couple of things that I remember, there will be some looking into, is that Tom who volunteered to look into?
No, Bob Quagland.
Bob Quagland is going to look into the possibility of finding some student interns, maybe Keene State or Antioch, who might work on developing the job descriptions for the various departments, or support that effort, and maybe get that going.
And Jesse was, ambulance had said that he felt that the department heads should be responsible with their job descriptions, that he'll be doing it for his people, and of course his is pretty much stated by law anyway for his people, but he thought that was a job for them, rather than hiring an outside business analyst, which is what Chris had talked about.
Right, I think it's much harder for DPW than for ambulance. Ambulance, fire, those are pretty much
Already.
the others are quite different, especially.
I think you have to argue whether or not you really need job descriptions for them too, personally.
Well, if that's going to be what if needed, their job description is going to be a basis for whether or not they get raises, then they're going to be very
And
important.
I think that's a point of debate, because the way I understood it was that they didn't even look at the jobs that were volunteer as such, or on call. So I don't know, what's going to happen there. And, then you have the issue of people that are getting stipends, where do they fit into the whole picture, so.
And in the police one, when we get to the police one.
Okay.
But the other thing, Franklin's, they presented a template to the selectmen with, and a whole bunch of job descriptions of comparable people from all around the other towns that were very, they had that to work with also, and it's just a matter of doing it. Iterating it more than starting off from the beginning.
Getting back in the wheel.
Yeah.
That is true, but then you're not really, when you said that, that made me a little bit squirmy, because if you're really doing a job description, if you're really doing a job description, you can't just take it from somebody else, because it's different everywhere, depending on what your position is. I guess probably a fire chief may have pretty much set things that he does, but with a volunteer fire department, it's going to be wildly different than a volunteer. Anyway, it's just, if you're just going to boilerplate a job description, might not much reason to have them, I don't think.
But it is a place to start.
Yeah.
It is a place
For
to
somebody
start.
who's never looked at a job, never written one, it's a good place. That's actually was my feeling, is give it to the employees. I think it would be eye-opening. Here's a general, this is what you do. Put in what you do. Take out what you don't do, and then give it to your supervisor. Be interesting to see if the supervisor agreed or disagreed.
That could be dangerous.
Right.
But I think it would be interesting, because then the supervisor, no, you're supposed to, or I didn't know you did that.
Well, the supervisor should be supervising and telling their employees what their jobs are.
Exactly.
That's what a supervisor does. I don't think we're really looking at all the volunteers and stuff and writing job descriptions. I think that'd be a big nut to crack right there. I think the biggest thing would be to do the highway department and the fire department, the actual, like chief and that. And like you said, a lot of stuff is already cut and dry on it anyways, but I think it's more the highway department.
I think if I heard Tom Dowling last week correctly, and anybody feel free to correct me if I've got this backwards, but I think he said that it shouldn't be the employees telling you what they do. It's the other way around. The management should be telling the employees what they're supposed to be doing. And obviously, there's got to be some back and forth, but that's all right.
I'm just saying, in a perfect world, every supervisor would know exactly what each employee does, and we have a perfect world here. So I think it might be eye-opening for both sides to
Do we
be
want to
somehow collaborative in that.
Do we want to make any recommendations about how we think this ought to be done, or should we just wait and see what?
I think we ought to
I
say
think-
soon.
I think-
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah, I don't think, I think that has to do with
I
that.
think we've already said it soon, that I think on the HR committee report, action items as detailed in the report, and we emphasized a couple of things already. I think the review was one of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Should that be on our punch list?
on the punch list, I think.
That should be very high on the punch list.
It should be.
It's not in any kind of order of priority on that list. There's a category for priority that's supposed to be getting used.
We gotta start that one or something.
Okay. The other thing that I think we can touch on when we talk about the emergency services, that there will probably be some adjustments in the ambulance squad budget, because Jesse he announced that he's got a couple, soon one and then soon after two paramedics coming on to the squad, which will mean that the rate of pay for them when they're on duty will probably be they're involved in a call. And the other thing that he mentioned was that our calls, and this is something that Carol reported last week, that our calls are charged less than the usual going charges in the area. And we ask for reimbursement for insurance, or we send a bill to people. So he's going to make some adjustments in that. So we'll be hearing from him about more income and a little more expense probably.
Do we know what most insurers allow? Like, what's the Medicare allowable for a?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
He's gonna
Talk to somebody who's the head of Deluzio, actually. who was talking to
Because
them.
they would know.
Go for $1,000, they'll adjust it and pay
I
it
know,
as they
but,
will, so.
yeah, but if you know what the allowable is, it doesn't matter what you bill, it's what most carriers allow.
But she did state that it was because based on the elderly population, and we only realize that, we only send one bill out, and if you don't pay it,
They don't worry about it.
you don't worry about it.
Yeah, back to the HR committee report, it was added to the punch list. An action plan must be developed to systematically review and implement the suggestions contained in this report. Due to the budget timeline, emphasis should be placed on exploring the need for a town administrator/manager, job descriptions for all employees, and a formal review process using approved job descriptions. So it's in there.
Okay, should we break those out into separate items?
I don't think it's going to matter, to be honest with you, because I haven't heard a damn thing about it from the select board, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we did hear about it last night.
Good.
It was after you had to leave, but there was some discussion, so
Good.
that's good. They are focused a little bit on that.
I had emailed them about that, and when they wanted me to give them the file, to turn it over and get it transparent on the webpage, and I never got a response, so
Well, Linda was gone last week, but.
I didn't even email Linda.
Oh.
And I don't think it had anything to do with Linda. It was Rock, Chris, and Joel that should have been addressed.
Yeah, they didn't respond online either, but.
Okay. Anything else from the select board, from anyone who was there? The announcement of this event next Tuesday.
Oh, that's important. So the select board are meeting only from 6 until 6:30 next week because they are heading off. At least two of them, I guess, are heading off to the public hearing.
What is this meeting?
It's on the sludge. Tom Pratt's request to be able to use biosolids, and this was not a meeting time set by the selectmen. The people who were required to do the public hearing set the time for when the room was available. So that's why
They could reschedule their meeting, though.
they could, and they talked about it, but it was not.
Can I ask?
Sludge was already used on Bobby Wilson's farm, so does everybody who wants sludge have to go through this?
Yes, they do.
I think there was a complaint about it for him, not,
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the issue there,
Oh.
by a neighbor.
I just don't think a public hearing needs to be held on this
Yeah.
application.
And it doesn't mean, even if the meeting goes badly, it doesn't mean that the town or any individual can prevent the use of this sludge. This is just informational meeting. So I had a question, did they do a line-by-line review of the budget or expenses?
No.
No, the vast majority of the meeting,
A good hour of it was.
a good hour,
Carol
which
was
could have
there.
been 15 minutes, it was 15 minutes of really good information, was on the heroin, drug addiction, coming through.
I just got an email from Chris that goes back to something we were discussing a little bit before. I got stuck at work, I won't be there until 7:40 p.m. I wouldn't be there until 7:45 p.m. at the earliest. Thoughts on the budget the business analyst question. It's not that the department heads can't put together descriptions. I think we need someone dedicated to marshaling all the tasks, making sure they get job descriptions together. The employee manual is created, approved, etc., and implement the proposed changes in a reasonable period of time. In short, someone with the time to own it and deliver it. If the selectmen own it, we risk it taking longer than it should. No comment from me. And the odds of it completing by year's end, in my opinion, are nil. I don't believe I adequately conveyed that last night. Well, I'm concerned, because like Julie said last night, so you asked about the budget line item. It's not happening. There were a bunch of things that should have been on the agenda last night that weren't on the agenda. Next week's meeting's going to be cut off, so it's almost like, thank God they started the budget process when they did, or, we'd really be behind the 8 ball as far as I'm concerned. And, Sam, I know you and I had a discussion, I think on the way home last week, about the potential for a town manager. And to me, all of this it's just snowballing to me, the things that need to be done, and the list gets longer because people don't have the time or aren't addressing that, and that's a major concern. I did have a thought of where some of the money could come from, too, for that. So in terms of, you don't need a select board the same capacity as to what it is now. So there's some money right there in terms of the stipends to pay for that, so.
Another thing that, the request for someone to check the phone plans was allowed.
Oh, there you go.
They approved
All
that.
right, thank you.
Or they were going to write a letter or something, was somebody is supposed to,
Yeah.
it was approved, I'm
It
not
was-
sure
it was
what the
approved.
procedure was.
Yeah, whoever's name is on there just has to add my name. It's USL won't talk to you unless your name is on there as a person they're allowed to talk to, so.
So do we need to do anything, or
We don't need to do anything, I need to
we
keep
nominate
checking.
you, and you check and make sure that happens?
But this happened, it's usually Roger, I mean, it has been Roger, I believe, and he was sitting right next to me, but then he got up to do some things, so I didn't check it, but.
Okay. So you'll follow up and make sure that's in place?
Right.
Roger, as an officer, Roger? Or
Yeah.
He's dealing with that?
I think he and David both have the okay on there. Who's allowed to actually put another name on, I
I
don't
wonder
know.
if they changed his name from the police chief, because that's supposed to be, I thought, one of his responsibilities.
It was, they changed it over.
Okay, because of the change of it, yeah.
Okay. Committee reports. General government, do we have any clarity on phone bills yet?
No, she's waiting for the dokey-dokey.
Yeah,
All right.
And
That'll be-
I sent out an email asking when the 3 on general government could get together with the selectmen. Didn't hear back, so I emailed it again. Heard back from my partners in crime and Linda said I was away. I'll get with them. I haven't heard from her, so I should email her tomorrow. Let's see if anything was said last night, unless somebody can tell me.
okay.
Okay.
So there's no general government, no DPW.
No, there's nothing that they asked for, and I think there are a lot of people here that were probably disappointed with that, because they showed up thinking they were part of the agenda.
Right.
I think David thought he was.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah,
he was
well,
here.
that's what we've been told, that's what the dates we
I
had in
figured
our
that's why
minutes.
you were here.
That or general government. I
Mhm.
thought general government was going to be
Mm-hmm.
moved down. So that's it. Quarterly report, nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Sam, do you want to start that off, or you want to look at what Dan wrote last year? If we're gonna. No. Okay.
I'll start it off.
All
I
right.
don't think what Dan wrote last year.
All right. Fine.
Well, his was massive, and once again, are we, I guess, a big question with the quarterly report, are we looking for, well, we know we don't have to do a half page, because that size is the same.
Postcard and folded over is the same, though there is some thought that people read the postcard as opposed to taking the time to open up the piece of paper.
That's actually true.
Well,
So-
we have a problem, we don't have any numbers.
I know.
And we're hoping to get revenue numbers, right, to put into this report?
I'm not sure what the revenue numbers are, but I know I spoke to Linda, and there's some form that she just sent to the state, which will then generate the rest of the numbers that we get back, which is all about this time of year for surplus and all that stuff, which is really what we're looking for.
Yeah, we get that preliminary thing from the state.
Right.
And on the basis of that, Dan predicted what the tax rate would be, even though the revenue was only estimated.
I would not go so far I'd stick them in,
especially with the revalue.
yeah, I'd stick them in your neck, I'd wait in the car.
Do we have a
So what's our fallback?
Do we have a deadline date by which we need to send this out? And therefore we have to have this report?
We wanted to take the tax bill.
Well, very close to on the tax bills.
But what are you gonna be able to say?
Well, we're not sure. That's what,
So get the,
that's what we're asking.
without the numbers, what can you say?
So right now, we're just waiting for the
No,
state.
it's-
That could be our report.
What can you say?
Well, you could review, and I think that this is, do you remember the FAQs that we posted? There was, maybe you could look at that, there was at least the formula for how the tax rate is calculated.
Well, I think that also just the information that, because of the reevaluation, we're all, you had mentioned last time that your evaluation has changed a lot, but maybe your taxes aren't changing that much because
But we just
taking
said
it out. No, I understand that, but with, this is we have that, we have our reevaluation, we have the revenue coming in, which hopefully we are going to know about. I mean, they have to know about it before they send the tax bill. And that whatever the combination there, right, of those two is going to be
Well, and
a determinant.
do they have some idea of expenditures? Some reasonable expectation of what the revenue numbers are gonna be? How big is the fund balance? Are the selectmen, potentially they could use part of the fund balance to affect the tax rate? We don't know any of those things at this point.
So you
And
can-
remind me when we get this info? November?
Well, we're just waiting for the state, but normally it comes in right around the end of the month, beginning of November.
Yeah, that's when they do.
All right,
They-
so,
Because they need to get that information
Right.
into their tax bills and get the tax bills out so they get it before the end of the year. So
Okay.
they pay by the end
Yeah,
of
the
the year.
selectmen need to know because they have a potential for taking some action,
Right,
which they can't do until they know these numbers.
right.
okay.
So we might have them in a week or two.
Yeah, when we find out something, then we can do something.
Another thing I just thought of, I'm not sure this would be a good idea either, but we could consider discussing any warrant articles that we know of or large expenditures. I'm thinking in particular of the fire truck.
Sure. This would have braced yourself?
Well,
Or-
there's $400,000 roughly, and maybe a little bit more with interest this year in the capital reserve, and they may need to raise, I'm guessing maybe another 50, max maybe 75 if they go ahead with it. We're guessing the total's going to be around 450, but that's just a real wild guess. And that's one thing, and then we're still trying to get someone to quote the door on the firehouse. But I was told that would probably be around 10 grand, so whether or not that's a separate warrant article or not, I don't know, it comes out of the maintenance budget. Don't know.
Or maybe we just want to publish Glenn's capital improvements plan.
I think I'll vote for you on that, don't forget.
What?
I think I'll vote for you on that, don't forget, you're not gonna like it.
Or maybe there's some other document. Do we have a list? Were you also making a list of town properties and
Yeah, actually, you mean of land or the buildings?
the
Need the maintenance.
maintenance? I'm just trying to think of how we could prepare folks for things that might show up as warrant articles.
And then we also have, not Warren Brook, the other one, we actually received money from, I'm trying to, DS, I think, or one of those, where, going up the hill road there, where the bank is sliding down, there's material that's in the river, and we actually received money to fix that. And there's supposed to be a warrant article on for that. There's quite a few warrant articles.
Really?
They're probably not all gonna go.
What is there an official list
Of,
of warrant articles?
not official list as that I know of, but just kind of listed into different things. We got the paving, which is gonna be around 250. David wants a truck. He doesn't have enough money, so we're looking at leasing or money out of it is kind of a reserve, plus putting more money with it. That could be around $50,000 there.
He wants a truck, doesn't he need a truck?
50 more?
Wants and needs. Would be about another $50,000.
Okay.
Doesn't need a new truck, though.
Well, the truck that he's replacing, it's probably time to replace, but,
Okay. That's fine.
and, yeah, we always can have the discussion whether he needs all this
Right.
or not, so it's a quality road.
So then what's the Hill Road thing called? Hill Road?
Let me say, we're getting into
Yeah.
specifics for these committees, which is good, but we're jumping back and forth between
I'll see if I can get a list of
fire and emergency and
Okay,
DPW.
cool.
So let's stick with one.
I think the warrant articles are more appropriate to not the next quarterly report, but the subsequent one.
What do you see us talking about in this?
Taxes. What tax rates might look like, perhaps, I don't really want to go that far, but to say this is the kind of revenue, how does this compare to previous years? Make those kinds of comparisons to, and to emphasize that because of the revaluation, that the rate is likely to be significantly different from preceding year.
So we'll know the rate by the time it goes out.
Right, but this, we were hoping to do this.
We won't know the rate until DRA sets it.
Right, which would be on that paper. And then
Which
we
you
can
just said
apply-
will be in the next
Right, so
couple
then
of
we can
weeks.
apply that.
If we know that, then we can say that.
We could also comment on where we're at and see what percent of the budget we've spent, how far underspent we are, something like that, or how it compares to last year in terms of our spending.
Is there a report that could be started with some fill in the blanks come when we get this information, or that's not worth it?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's
Because
put it on the
there's
agenda.
different things you can say depending on what you get.
Do you need a target date of when you're gonna get that out?
Well, we can ask Florida when the tax bill's likely to go out. What do we usually do? Second week of December?
No,
Well, it's
not paid by then. We would get it in November.
We do?
So,
You get it, and then you have a month to pay it, and that's why they like to get it out at the beginning of November.
Oh.
They'll get it out as soon as they can get the numbers.
Wasn't it 2 weeks? We have 2 weeks, I think, not a month.
30 days.
There's,
So yeah, we're already behind on the
there's
paper.
4 meetings between now and Thanksgiving. Assuming we're not gonna meet the night before Thanksgiving.
What do you do?
Good assumption.
Frequently, the tax
Really not a lot.
until after the 1st of November. Significant.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not gonna go out before the tax bill, it's going out after the tax bill.
Last year, I don't think the taxes were actually due until January.
No, I'm just saying, before the reports.
December.
They were late. They were certainly late last year.
They were late.
They were late, but they were due in December, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it seems like just before Christmas, because it's so long.
Right, that's like everything else.
Merry Christmas.
Well, we can make that a headline on our.
So we'll be thinking about that, but everybody else too, and can shoot an email to anybody or all of us, if anyone comes up with a nice, good idea.
So when we know something, we can say something.
Okay.
But I think it's going out after the tax bill, don't you guys?
I think it may be going out after the tax bill, and maybe an explanation about things in the
That
tax.
might be smarter.
That might work.
Okay.
Okay. Emergency services. You want to say more about the fire truck bids and stuff like that?
We're very close to having a final bid. That's why I got up and left last night to go to, from the selectmen, we need to go to another meeting on that. And I'd say another meeting or two and it should be set. Our goal was to have it ready for the 1st of November in the hopes that it can get out that first week in November so that people have 30 to 45 days to bid on it, and we have, and have time to go back and forth before we have to have a warrant article with it. So I think we've made an immense amount of progress personally. We've got a list of vendors, we've got a process that we're looking at, and I think we're we're in good shape as far as that one. I think the guys have worked really hard at putting something together and being open-minded about the whole thing. While that is out being quoted, it's just been the three guys from the fire department and me for the most part that have worked on it. And a few other people came last week, and that was enough and kind of left because there really wasn't any need for everybody to be there. It was rather cold where we were meeting. And so we'll get everybody back together and then start working on basically a list of why are we going after this truck? Why do we need this new truck? And why is it a more prudent or wise fiscal choice? So we'll be doing that in the interim. We have asked the selectmen for clarification on a couple of things. One was whether or not they wanted a performance bond, which means that the manufacturer has to have a bond in case they go under during the process, which has happened before with the Maritime of France. And there was another question, which I think was yours, which was a very good question about whether or not, that was yours or Ann's, actually, whatever, whether or not the warrant article could carry forth into a second year. One of the vendors has told us it's probably going to be 12 to 14 months till that truck comes in. So what happens if, I gather if you raise the money in 1 year, you have to spend it in that year. And so Joel is looking for clarification right now with that with the revenue people. And then I also asked whether they're willing to put down a large payment for a lower cost. I haven't gotten an answer on that. And there was something else I asked them about that I don't think I got an answer on too, but they are working on that stuff. So
It's my recollection that with respect to warrant articles, it is possible to carry them.
It is, yeah. I've seen it many, many times.
okay, cannot imagine that it hasn't been done before. And that,
I've read the statutes.
good, thank you.
I can't quote it, but I know it's there.
So, do we expect this will be a warrant article item then for the new fire truck?
That's the goal. I hope we get there.
Okay, and what about enlarging the doorway?
Whether or not that'll be a warrant article or not, I don't know how the selectmen will choose to handle it. Will depend on the price if we can ever get a quote.
Are we asking for bids for something that will require a new doorway?
Yes.
So that kind of forces the...
Well, even if we weren't, you still got the issue of mutual aid coming in and having to leave their trucks out. And I think you mentioned it, that these trucks, I think it was you, that these trucks just aren't built to be left outside for long periods of time today.
Right, especially the new ones with
Right.
the diesels, the filters, and regens.
Okay.
They don't like to idle for a long time.
And what?
They don't like to idle for a long time.
So in other words, they don't want to leave them outside and plus the other thing is you got a lot of stuff made out of plastic. It gets cold and they should stand it, but you don't want things getting brittle and cracking and having a problem with things. So that's it on EMSG from my end at this point.
Okay, another budget thing that we need to think about, although having paramedics on our ambulance is a great idea, there will be an increase in the budget because of the equipment that paramedics need, that drugs, they're allowed to give drugs, so even just supplying.
Jesse said that he probably has 90% of what they need, but they will need to buy a few more things. So there will be an expense for that.
I'm not sure whether the drugs come into play there or not, or whether or not that comes from the hospital and we don't have to pay for those kinds of things.
You said mention it as a budget number, as something that will affect.
Because he was talking about he was cleaning out the ambulance the one day when I was there with out-of-date stuff and taking it back and they were going to trade it for new stuff. So it didn't seem like there was a cost with some things. So.
No, but there's stuff that they can't have now that they want to take out paramedics. They are actually required to have, I think.
Probably.
Because if a paramedic is there as a paramedic, they are required to give a certain level.
And he also mentioned there may be an increase, or there may be a different amount that we have to pay for insurance
Right.
to cover that additional requirement.
They're at level 1 now, but I guess there's a level 1, level 2, level 3, and they have to go up to being a level 3 ambulance. So that's an additional budgetary consideration.
He came in at 3.3% under this year's budget with what, like his second round. And so he's got room to maneuver, in my opinion, so, unless it's some massive amount, but then again, when you look at what you get for coverage, it's something we'll have to decide whether or not, the town wants.
So you're saying he submitted a preliminary budget that's 3.2%
3.3% under this year.
under this year's, but he's gonna revise it upward because of the paramedics.
Apparently.
Okay.
So Linda's
He's
checking
working.
on the insurance side,
That's,
on what that requires.
and, did the, police department offer a budget?
Yes.
They did.
Yeah.
And they said that it's basically less than this year because Carol told them that it had to be.
Is that what they said?
And
I actually didn't really have any conversations with Marcello,
so of the questions on there, the biggies, can I just see your paper and I'll run over this they gave out last night. So the question on health insurance, it was 33.9, and it's down to 216, 217. I mean, excuse me, 21,700. And that's because in the past, one of the people had family health insurance, and now this is a placeholder for, in case the new person coming in needs health insurance. So that number is a maybe.
Before you go too far, and I apologize because I couldn't stay last night, but there's a lot of maybes in that, aren't there?
There are lots of maybes.
I think Marcello was speculating in a lot of stuff that the town needs to, the select board need to fill in, like the salary and that benefit.
That is correct.
He's also put in a substantial raise for the clerk.
He has, and he explained that last night as to why, because she's been there, she will have been there a year by the time the budget comes out, and she's had to do a lot of extra stuff with he being here so little. So
Will
he
that
did.
continue?
What's substantial?
16%.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
Is that what I got written down there, Julie?
you have 5% for the
I got it
officer.
here, 16%.
Okay. And the other thing is that he, and this goes with the job description kinds of things, he suggested that there be a salary for each level of certification, so that every time an officer moves from one level to the next, they don't have to go and ask for the salary increase. So he said it would be good if that were just set. They don't pay FICA because they pay the New Hampshire State Police pension, so that line item is instead of FICA. That the drop in the county prosecutor program was because the county prosecutor program dropped their costs.
Wow.
Yeah, right, excuse me. Right. Software support, they did actually drop that because they got new software, they got new computers and something else which needed assistance the last couple of years, and they're not planning to get anything new. So that's why they've been over budget the last 2 years on that, correct? And yet they did not put in for that higher amount this time because they thought they weren't going to need it. Let's see.
But isn't the new chief coming on that we need to learn?
Penny could probably teach him. It doesn't necessarily mean they need to
Okay.
go outside. Depends on what the system is.
Alright.
It's a good question, though.
Let's see, vehicle lease, they did have a vehicle lease number.
Excuse me, say that again?
Marcello's gonna shadow her, get into
Right.
Did Marcello say that, or did the select board say that?
Marcello.
But this was, they were talking about for the software, which Marshall may or may not be able to be working with. Let's see, what were the other questions on here? The equipment, new equipment, they said, how much can you leave? And he said there would be some things that he would leave, but of course, the new chief needs new uniforms, needs new
Best.
the vest can go, and
That's still like $100.
there was something,
The duty belt,
it's
he
okay.
can use that, they can use that, but he can't use the vest. And
Right.
There might be some other things.
Yeah, okay. And then they talked about the ammunition because of getting the new certification. I mean, 1,000 rounds just to take the certification. And that mostly the differences. So he is, was he still under budget with that vehicle he's throwing?
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He is still under budget with that.
Well, he's under last year anyway.
Right.
Did anybody say what well, of course, whether or not he's under budget is, I think the police chief's salary that's in here for 2016
Right.
is incorrect by far. The health insurance obviously is going to change. But again, we're not going to know what. And I don't know whether the pension is based on their salaries or how that goes. So, that could make a difference. As far
What do you
as that
think
goes.
the police chief wages should be?
I have no clue what they are feeling for
This
him.
is for the new guy.
From what I understood, and this is, again, I'm not seeing anything in writing, that he was making more than, what we were offering, but it was workable because of the fact that he did not need health insurance. So, you're swapping one line item for another. So what that's going to, I would hope there would still be a net savings on that. So otherwise, you're talking very much money.
was he didn't have to drive to wherever.
So our
There's
understanding is,
Langdon.
Yeah, he said to drive here, which was.
Correct.
our understanding is that they're offering the new guy 53.
No, that's not my understanding at all.
Placeholder.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Do we have any idea?
Because that's
No,
Marshall.
and that's the thing, it's like, he's speculating on a lot of stuff, and I mean, I really don't think, I think the pencil needs to be sharpened dramatically for a few reasons, and salary is one, and, until you know what the police chief is making, and